Hello, welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Cyberpunk 2077 is just, it's all the rage. People are loving to hate on it for many, many reasons. Not just what we've got here, which is just a bunch of journalists crying about how entitled they are. But we also have some other gripes that people seem to have with this game, because we can't have good or nice things, it seems. Now, the first thing I think is really important to get to grips with here is that journalists are not entitled to freebies, just the same way movie reviewers aren't either. Like, I myself have been graciously offered screeners in the past, and it's fantastic when I do. It's great. I get to watch it early, and I get to provide you with a review early. But it doesn't mean I'm entitled to it, and just in the same way, neither are you games reviewers, because that's what you are. You're just a game reviewer, just like I am a movie reviewer. So you're not entitled to it. And this sense of entitlement is what is absolutely destroying the game industry, because who are getting it are, well, what these journalists would call influencers. But they're journalists as well. They're games reviewers, right? Like the likes of upper echelon gaming, for instance, right? And any games player on YouTube would probably have gotten a free copy. And if they haven't, they probably should have. Because they do a better job, generally speaking, than these games journalists do for associated outlets. And that's all they are. All they're doing is classifying themselves as journalists because they work for an outlet, and thus they believe they, can command a free copy. Whereas the people who work for themselves with a direct audience, like me to you, they believe that they are not legitimate journalists, which is just absolutely pathetic. It's childish. There's nothing which separates the two of them, except for the fact that, generally speaking, those that work for outlets have agendas that they want to push. You only need to look at the PS5 review, I think it was from Kotaku, to show that. They started talking about the pandemic. How's that got to do with the PS5 review? What are you talking about, you idiot? And it's the same here. It's exactly the same here. All that's happening, generally speaking, with outlets, they're talking about weird rando agendas, which they don't serve any purpose for the actual game review. And 9 times out of 10, the games developers are hot on it now. They don't care. So why would they give you a freebie? But anyway, the salt flows, and we are here to mine that salt. So let's take a look at it, right? This article is linked down below, so check it out with me. But the main point I wanted to get to here, now this is one of the first tweets on the overall subject itself, was made by Uppercut founder Ty Galees Rowe, who voiced their frustrations by asserting the fact that influencers are getting custom care packages to be more free marketing for Cyberpunk, while those reviewers who will likely take this game to task still haven't gotten code for a giant effing game, is honestly emblematic of why we don't trust influencers. You're not entitled to it. Wait like the rest of us. You sound like an idiot. I'm sorry, but you just sound like a spoilt child. And CD Projekt Red can give their game to whoever they want. And obviously, yes, they are going to give it actually to the people who provide probably the most fair and unbiased reviews. Games journalists, those that work for outlets, generally don't give fair and unbiased reviews. Fascinatingly, isn't it? Isn't that crazy, ladies and gents, that is still what happens, and these people are still crying about it, wondering why they don't have their free copy. Well, we know why they're not getting the free copy, because CD Projekt Red, why they don't have to give it to you. They can just give it to someone else, with 500,000 subscribers or whatever, and their audience will actually listen to what they've got to say. No one. Who are you? Who are you, Uppercut? I don't know who you are. You probably think you're something special, but the thing is it's like a microcosm of kind of celebrity known-ism, I guess. You're nothing to the wider populace. So obviously a games developer is going to look at that and go, right, well, we know how many unique visitors you get. Probably not that many. We can look at this YouTube channel and they probably get X, Y, and Z. Well, we'll just give it to them instead. Why wouldn't they? Why do you deserve it over so-called influencers that you call? You're an influencer yourself, you idiot. The fact that you're trying to separate yourself is so moronic. It's unbelievable. Anyway, it continues. It says, this is not to say that influencers inherently can't be critical of those they partner with, but it's hard to believe that when the partnership between the company and them is so apparent, while critics and even guides writers are getting shut out till the last minute. Probably because you're just going to bang on about what we're going to cover in a minute, which is apparently transphobia, which is, what are you on about? Do you know what I mean? When you don't review the game and you review the politics of the game, that's why people tune out to you. Funnily enough. And someone replied to it and said, influencers are worth more to publishers, bigger reach more often than not. Yes, they are. Yep. And this has long been the situation. Game developers are tuning into that now, more so than ever. But movie studios aren't, and they really do need to get round to that. Because so what? I've dealt with a lot of movie studios across my time on YouTube, and it's fascinating to watch how people just flounder. Like, you guys know me, I'm a massive proponent of Godzilla vs. Kong, yeah? Huge. Love it all, right? Who's going to review it positively? Well, probably me. Because I love it. Not because I'm being ultra, blinkered to it all, but yeah, I'm a little bit biased and I love it. And I've got an audience that loves it. So why wouldn't you let someone that's, that has that kind of access to an audience that is primed to enjoy it, and the reviewer's primed to enjoy it, why wouldn't you let them have access to a clip? I've had copyright strikes from Warner Brothers for Godzilla vs. Kong. And you just think to yourself, you're being an idiot, Warner Brothers. Because I'm talking about it positively. I'm selling the movie for you. And you're not even paying me. I'm doing it because I love it. And my audience loves it. So movie studios need to cotton onto it. But we do know that games developers have already. And then they replied with, get this game gate shit out of my mentions. What a child. You utter plebe. John Walker demands better, of course he does, jumped in and says, I find it so fascinating how after decades of attempting to wrangle the gaming press into something that does their marketing for them, publishers have instead had their dreams come true in the form of influencers. What you mean, people that have voiced their, positive thoughts of a game prior to its release, and so have their audiences. I mean, what are you on about? What are you on about? Like, mate, it's a win-win situation for a YouTuber, because if they get the game early, they're going to get views off of it, right? Of course they are. Now, they're incentivized, but they're not, more often than not, they're not even paid. They're just incentivized because they get the money from the views. Not subscribers, it's from the views. This is such garbage. But it's amazing how these people are so butthurt and transparent about it. It's like you're acting like an imbecile, being so plain and upfront about it. It turned out to be incredibly difficult to buy off the gaming press. Then along came a whole new thing, a creepy facsimile of a gaming enthusiast press that not only can be bought, but openly boasts about it as they tell people how wonderful the product is. Again, remember, 9 times out of 10, the YouTube reviewers, they're not bought. There's no money exchanging here. I can tell you that now. I had Surfshark VPN offering me a sponsorship, and I was like, no. They were like, well, you can do a commission basis. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do your commission basis. That's ridiculous. Piss off. So this is from someone that has utterly no idea about anything that they're talking about. Anyway, so it continues. It says, why the hell would you send your game to the press, who will likely tell the truth? What about transphobia in a game? CD Projekt Red isn't interested in you critiquing their politics, right? Or their reluctance to bow down to social warrior agenda crap. That's not what they're interested in. They're interested in you reviewing the game, not the politics held within the game. If you start changing the way you review stuff, maybe you'll get the games. Maybe you'll get what you believe you're entitled to. And then this idiot says, who will likely tell the truth when you can instead pay some shiny-faced cherub to say whatever you want? Ah, God. Says the bloody baby-faced buffoon there. Anyway, it continues as well. Ask any of the few journos playing Cyberpunk right now about their physical and mental state as they try to meet embargo. They'll tell you that they're dead. That's not even mentioning the fact that they're technically the lucky ones. So many will be crunching all of... Oh my God. Oh, woe is the game journalist playing a game. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I work until 1, 2 a.m. some days. I'm not sitting here crying about it. It's my job. Like, I'm just doing it because what? You're crying about playing a game. Oh, you couldn't make this up. The sense of entitlement. Oh, first world problems. First world problems. This is the definition of first world problems. You're crying about playing a game. Step back. Step back from your life for 1 second. So many people can't even eat, let alone afford the PS4, the PS5, let alone afford Cyberpunk. And you're crying about it. Step back for 1 second and see the sense of entitlement that comes from your privileged position in the grand scheme of things. I'm not talking about white privilege or any of this garbage, but you are in a much more... Like, the sense of privilege and entitlement from these buffoons is utterly incredible. I can't begin to quantify how baffled, like, my brain is exploding. I'm going to be playing a game all of December. Oh! Are you for real? Are you for real? I can't believe it. Anyway. And then again, you know, Anita chimes in because she's just fucking queen tit. Even just a few years ago, we would never have had a mainstream review of a mainstream AAA game that dedicates the opening 7 paragraphs to the game's success or failure at trans representation. That's not nothing. Oh, God, grow up, go home. Anyway, here we go. Here's what everyone else is crying about. Apparently it perpetuates transphobia and gamers are calling it out. Look, no real gamer is calling this out. Games journalists, the ones that work for outlets are, but they're not gamers. These are the ones that are crying about having to play the game. That is... I thought I'd lead with that, ladies and gents, because this is important to segue onto, because they're not gamers. These are the ones that feel like, that have so much privilege and entitlement that they're crying about playing the game. A real gamer would sit there and go, yes, let me play the game. Let me play the game. Not these douche canoes. Epic twat waffles. Honestly, it's unreal. Anyway, CBR have perpetuated this garbage. Cyberpunk 2077's character creation is transphobic. Apparently, right? That's an epic statement to make. It's actually slander. So let's see. Cyberpunk's 2077's transphobia becomes apparent as soon as players enter the character creation menu. The game sports an incredibly detailed and intuitive character creator, where players can manipulate and control various aspects of their character's appearance, including the shapes and sizes of their genitals. Players can even, if they choose, forego the option to include genitals at all. In and of itself, this isn't necessarily problematic or transphobic, especially because genitals don't seem to affect gender options. What's the problem then? Let's wait. At first, many trans players were happy with the idea that gender would not be determined by the character's genitals. However, that possible excitement turned to disbelief when gamers realised their character's gender and pronouns are not determined by genitals, but rather by voice. Only deep-voiced characters can be identified as male, while higher-pitched characters are identified as female, which purports the harmful idea that people's genders are identified by certain traits. Right. Okay then. Alright then. Fine. Apparently Cyberpunk 2077 fetishizes trans bodies but hides trans people. Right. So any reviewer with their limited time playing the game to accurately state that Cyberpunk 2077 has no meaningful LGBTQ representation. Okay, there are occasional appearances of trans flags and a few characters who may or may not be LGBTQ, but the majority of the characters appear to be cisgender and heterosexual. Trans is a minority, so representation would be in the minority. That's a fact. There's no way around that. Okay? Sorry, that's a fact. However, several trans bodies appear on posters throughout Night City, There are femme characters with bulging, highly transparent phalluses objectified for amusement. In her review, Polygon critic Caroline Petit draws attention to in-game advertisement for a drink called Chromanticore. In-game advertisements for the drink fetishizes trans bodies in a way that relegates them as the other, treating them as both exotic and sexy. Okay, but I'm looking at this, right? I'm looking at this. I don't see any like trans people here anyway. But I'm looking at this here, and I'm looking at some images and stuff like that. And if we go to this one again, we're looking at images and things like that, because it's important to see whether they are fetishizing people across the board, which I would say they probably are. I wouldn't say that it's just, single. I got to be careful with what I say because it would just be demonetized. But it looks to be quite across the board, to be honest. It doesn't look like they've only made one more appealing than the other, or supposedly fetishized, etc., etc. So anyway, look, everyone's salty about Cyberpunk. Epic, love it. CD Projekt Red, don't bow down to the pressure. This is garbage. It's garbage. I know it's garbage. Love to hear your thoughts on it, though, ladies and gents. Both articles are linked down below. Will I be getting it tomorrow or tonight at 12 a.m? Yeah, I'll download it. I will maybe put one episode up on the channel. I'm doing Alien Isolation at the moment. I'm not really a gaming channel. I like playing games. But I just play games for fun, which apparently isn't considered a gamer anymore. So I have long not considered myself a gamer. Can you imagine if Gears of War came out today, like the original? Can you imagine how lambasted it would be? This is just a joke. Like, it's an absolute joke. And again, it's first world problems. I don't see these people going off to, like the Middle East and crying about women's representation and women's rights out there. This is why, it annoys me when I see footballers kneeling to fight racism, BLM. I'm like, look, if you really cared, you wouldn't play for, all of these Middle Eastern people that, literally murder gay people and things like that. Like, really? Come on now. You're a hypocrite. You're a virtue signaling douche. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. As always, we're Mr. H. Take care.